If you were born before 1966, the person taking care of you, your daughter, your son, your spouse, could be collecting $1,300 a month or more, and most families collect nothing. 3 mistakes cause it. Stay with me until number 3, because that one is the mistake families get completely backwards. The thing that feels safest is the one that can cost you $50,000. Number 1. Assuming family members can't be paid at all. Ask most people who pays for a daughter to care for her mother, and they'll say nobody. Family care is free labor, that's just how it works. Wrong. And wrong to the tune of over $20,000 a year. Every single state runs at least one program that pays family caregivers real wages. The biggest is Medicaid's self-directed care option, sometimes called consumer-directed or participant-directed personal assistance. Here's the mechanic. Instead of Medicaid sending a stranger from an agency, the person receiving care becomes the employer. They choose who provides the care, and in most states, that can be their adult child, a grandchild, a sibling, and in many states, even a spouse. The caregiver files timesheets and gets a real paycheck, typically between $13 and $25 an hour, depending on the state. In Washington, California, Massachusetts, and Alaska, rates run around $24 to $26 an hour. Some states structure it differently. A flat daily stipend to the family instead of hourly wages, often called structured family caregiving. But the money is just as real. One honest caveat. A handful of states still exclude spouses from being the paid caregiver, so if you're caring for your husband or wife, that's the first eligibility question to ask. Run the numbers. A daughter approved for 25 hours a week at $16 an hour earns $400 a week, roughly $1,700 a month, over $20,000 a year, for care she was already giving for free. And starting in July 2026, every state is required to publicly report what it pays for home care services, so you can look up your state's rate instead of guessing. Now, the typical mistake that keeps families at zero. First, they wait for Medicare to cover it. Medicare does not pay family caregivers. It doesn't cover ongoing custodial care at all, and families burn 2 or 3 years waiting for a benefit that will never come. Second, they assume the parent isn't poor enough for Medicaid. But the home and community-based waiver programs that pay caregivers often use higher income limits than regular Medicaid. Many states allow roughly $2,900 a month in income for the person receiving care, and the house you live in generally doesn't count against you. Families hear the word Medicaid, picture a poverty line, and rule themselves out at the kitchen table without ever applying, while a neighbor with the same Social Security check is getting a caregiver paid. Third, veterans skip their own version. The VA runs veteran-directed care and aid programs that can pay family caregivers too, completely separate from Medicaid. What to do? This week, call the Eldercare Locator at 1-800-677-1116. It's a free federal service. And ask one question. Does my state's Medicaid program have a self-directed or consumer-directed option that pays family caregivers? They'll route you to your area agency on aging, which walks you through the application. One phone call, and the answer decides whether your family leaves $20,000 a year on the table. Number 2. Paying income tax on caregiver money the IRS says is tax-free. This one hits the families who did everything right in number 1. They enrolled, the checks are coming, a W-2 arrives in January, and they hand thousands of dollars straight back to the IRS for no reason. Here's the rule almost nobody's tax preparer mentions. IRS Notice 2014-7. If you're paid through a Medicaid home and community-based waiver program to care for someone who lives in the same home as you, the IRS treats those wages as difficulty of care payments, and they are excludable from your federal gross income. Not reduced. Excluded. A daughter who moved in with her mother, or a mother living in her son's home, earning $18,000 a year in waiver payments, can legally owe 0 federal income tax on all of it. Count what the mistake costs. $18,000 taxed in the 12% bracket is $2,160 overpaid every single year. Over 5 years of caregiving, that's more than $10,000 handed to the IRS that the IRS itself said you didn't owe. And here's the part people miss. The agency still sends you a W-2 or a 1099 showing the full amount as wages. Caregivers see the form, assume it's taxable, and their preparer, who may see one Medicaid waiver case a year, types it in like any other job. The form doesn't decide. The notice does. It gets better, and this surprises even accountants. In 2019, the U.S. Tax Court ruled that caregivers can exclude these payments from taxable income and still count them as earned income to claim the Earned Income Tax Credit. Read that again. Money you don't pay tax on can still qualify you for a refundable credit worth up to several $1,000s. For a caregiver with a qualifying child in the household, the credit alone can top $4,000. And these payments generally aren't subject to self-employment tax either, so don't let anyone charge you the 15.3% on top. One more trap. This is a federal exclusion, and most states follow it. But confirm your state return matches, because a preparer who excludes it federally and forgets the state line leaves refund money behind. The typical error compounding all of this, doing nothing about past years, you can file an amended return, Form 1040X, generally up to 3 years back. A caregiver who overpaid $2,000 a year for the last 3 years can claim roughly $6,000 in refunds with 3 forms. What to do? If you or anyone in your family receives Medicaid waiver payments for in-home care, ask your tax preparer this week in these exact words. Have you applied IRS Notice 2014-7 to my caregiver income? If they look at you blankly, the notice is on irs.gov. Print it and bring it. Then ask about amending the last 3 years. And keep number 3 in mind, because after all this good news about getting paid, number 3 is where paying a family caregiver the natural way quietly sets up the biggest loss of all. Number 3, paying a family caregiver informally with no written agreement. Here's the mistake families get completely backwards. Plenty of seniors don't qualify for the Medicaid programs yet, so they do the obvious thing. Mom writes her daughter a check for $1,000 a month for the care she provides. No contract. Because contracts between a mother and daughter feel cold, even insulting. We're family. We keep it simple. That instinct, keeping it informal because it's family, is exactly what detonates later. Here's the mechanic. Medicaid has a look-back period, 5 years in most states. The day your parent applies for long-term care coverage, the state examines every financial transaction going back 5 years. Documented wages under a caregiver contract are fine, but payments to a family member with no written agreement are presumed to be gifts. Asset transfers designed to hide money, and gifts inside the look-back window trigger a penalty period during which Medicaid refuses to pay for care. Now the real cost. Mom paid her daughter $1,000 a month for 4 years, $48,000, every dollar of it earned. Then mom has a fall and needs a nursing home, where a private room now runs roughly $10,000 a month. The state divides the $48,000 in gifts by its penalty divisor, close to that $10,000 figure in many states, and rules mom ineligible for nearly 5 months. 5 months of nursing home care out of pocket is around $50,000. The family paid honestly for real care and gets treated exactly like they were hiding assets because there was no paper. And notice who takes the hit. Not the daughter who was paid, but the mother who needs the bed. The penalty lands on the person applying for care at the exact moment they're most vulnerable. The fix costs almost nothing. It's called a personal care agreement, a short written contract that states what services the caregiver provides, the hours, and an hourly rate that matches market rates in your area, not above them. 3 rules make it bulletproof. 1. It must be signed before the services are paid for. Medicaid does not accept retroactive agreements, so you cannot paper over payments already made. 2. Pay by check or bank transfer, never cash, so every payment matches the contract. 3. Keep a simple log of dates and hours. There's a bonus most families never consider. A proper care agreement is also a legitimate way to compensate the caregiving child now, while the parent is alive, instead of hoping an inheritance survives the nursing home bills. The typical error inside the fix: downloading a template, signing it, and setting the daughter's pay at $40 an hour to move money faster. Medicaid checks rates. Pay above the going rate for caregiving in your area, and the excess gets treated as a gift anyway. Market rate. Real hours, real records. What to do? If any money already moves between family members for caregiving, or it's about to get a personal care agreement in place this week, your area agency on aging can point you to templates, and 1 hour with an elder law attorney, often a few $100s, is cheap insurance against a $50,000 penalty. So look at the full picture. The same families who provide billions of hours of unpaid care are making all three mistakes at once: earning nothing when they could earn $20,000 a year, paying tax the IRS never asked for, and setting up a Medicaid penalty with every informal check. The care is already being given. The only question is whether the money follows the rules that reward it. Your action step this week: call the Eldercare Locator at 1-800-677-1116 and ask whether your state pays family caregivers. The answer takes 10 minutes and can be worth thousands. If this helped, subscribe for weekly money rights breakdowns and share this with one family caregiver you know they may be owed thousands.